Would you join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, Mr. Vice Chair.
Good morning. I'd like to welcome everybody here on October 21st to our meeting of the Morrison County Board of Commissioners. I believe there may be an addition to the agenda.
That's correct, Mr. Chair. One item I'd like to add, 3.1, employee introduction from our IT department.
Okay. So with that,
I'll make a motion to approve the additions or deletions of the agenda.
I can second that.
we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those against say nay. Motion approved. Mr. LeBlanc.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I invite Amy and Rob to come up, please.
Morning. Thank you for adding us to the agenda.
Good morning. Good morning.
I'd like to introduce you to our newest team member, Rob Lake. He's our new network administrator for the county.
Fantastic. Rob, yeah.
So he comes to us with about 10 years of experience in networking and was previously at the library systems.
Wow. We'll be calling you regularly.
We were Great River Regional.
Correct, yep.
I think I recognize you from being there.
Well, if you miss him, open your eyes.
I feel very short.
Yeah.
I'm wearing my heels today.
Fantastic. Welcome to the Morrison County family. We wish you great success in your tenure here.
And so now the IT department is fully staffed. So I'm super excited.
Very good.
Super. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
You bet. Thanks for coming. Enjoy your new job. Absolutely.
That concludes employee introduction, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. LeBlanc. Gentlemen, next on the agenda is the consent agenda. I'll ask if there's anything that any members would like to have pulled for further discussion this morning.
Yeah, Mr. Vice Chair, I would like to pull 4.7 for further discussion.
Okay, so we will pull 4.7 and hold that. And so that being said, we have items 4.1 through 4.6, and you've had those to review. What is the wish of the board?
I'll make the motion to approve 4.1 through 4.6.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Any further discussion to those items? Seeing none, this will be a roll call. Commissioner Casper?
Aye.
Commissioner Wincher?
Aye.
Commissioner Moran?
Aye.
The chair votes aye. All those voting in the affirmative, the consent agenda is approved. Now we'll go to the issue of 4.7. And Commissioner Casper, you asked to have that pulled. I will give you the opportunity to speak to that.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, the issue is that Humane Society is looking for a grant from Sourcewell for $75,000 to neuter cats within Morrison County, and then ear tag them and release them.
If I may, trap and neuter. They want to trap them.
Yes, and hire a veterinarian. And trying to balance the issue, on one hand, I do love cats, and I understand, and they were talking about them multiplying, where 2 cats over 10 years could produce 1 million little ones. And I can understand that be an issue. But at the same time, to catch and release program, I don't think it's a healthy situation. There are bird lovers out there. These cats raise Cain with these songbirds. Not only the birds in town, but the birds out in the country, whether it be pheasants, ducks. It it's not a good situation. There's got to be a balancing act where I talked to both the DNR and a local chief of police, and they talked about the issues, and they said this would not be a good situation to do this. In fact, the game warden I spoke with said that a farmer out in the Buckman area put a collar on one of his cats to track it, and the cat was going out 5 to 6 miles in one evening. So I know that Sourcewell does a great job, the Humane Society does a great job, but I just think their funds would be used more wisely in other ways. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Further discussion on this, gentlemen?
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Wincher.
to help out with Commissioner, on your request to pull this, what is your intention, that you want to take a vote on it, that we do not want to do, or do you want to table it to have more discussion down the road? That's the question I'm putting to you.
Mr. Chair?
Commissioner Casper.
Yeah, my attitude would, if it's approved here, is to take a vote on it. And the idea is that these cats, if they're not collared, they're gonna need to be euthanized. And if they are collared, they need to be either taken to the Humane Society when they're live trapped or released to their owners. And I would just adjure people that do have these kitties, because I love cats, that they collar them and tag them so people know whose they are, so they can be taken care of responsibly.
Thank you for that explanation.
You're welcome.
Mr. Vice Chair?
Commissioner Moran.
Yeah, just one other comment on this. There is a lot of cats. It is an issue. And euthanization is an option. If we release them, there's a big chance they're gonna get run over on the streets. They're everywhere in Little Falls, and there's a good chance they're gonna get hit by a car. There's also a good chance, if they don't have a home, they're gonna starve to death, and they're gonna carry disease. And there is other options, and we should explore those other options. Thank you.
Gentlemen, I'm looking at this issue in the sense that from the eyes of the Humane Society, and I look at this where they just literally cannot afford, whether it's fiscally or through human resources, be able to afford to deal with all these feral cats. And so I look at, at the action that they're taking is at least an action to help control the population of those, of those animals out there. I'm not quite sure if you're, Commissioner Casper, if you're looking at not having them seek this grant and take this action, what you would be asking them, or how you would be asking them to deal with the problem then doesn't go away on its own. And so I struggle with the thought process on how are you looking at addressing this issue with millions of cats? Commissioner Casper.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And that is a reasonable ask. My understanding is, talking to this chief of police, is that where he serves, there was a huge issue, but they started to live trap the cats and returning them to owners or turning them in to the Humane Society. In fact, they were also euthanizing cats. And that's, I know that sounds cruel, but instead of having, we got to look at it. Even, I know there's local people that are members of the Audubon Society, and they love watching their birds come into the feeders. And many here are pheasant hunters. These cats, you know, while they're fun to have and having to hold, they're actually vicious hunters for the most part. And to just let them alone, to catch and release them, it's not wise. It only cures part of the problem, but it needs to be handled differently, I believe.
And so you don't agree that, that taking this first step into further controlling the population is either not the right step to take or is not effective? Would that be fair to ask?
Yeah, and that, you know what, and I understand, Mr. Chair, I think that's reasonable what you're bringing. To me, it's kind of like, you know, years ago, we didn't use seat belts. Then they discovered, you know what, we need to put seat belts in vehicles. Now they put not only seat belts, but they also put airbags. I think you have to implement two things at once, not just catch and release, because it takes care of part of the problem. And there again, I believe that funds can be more wisely spent than catch and release cats, neuterizing them. It's just kind of putting a Band-Aid on something instead of putting some salve on it first and taking a step deeper into the issue instead of just bandaging it.
Mr. Chair.
Thank
if
you,
I may.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Casper.
Maybe help out with this conversation, we're talking about cats here, okay? You know, and we have a lot more things that are more important. I would suggest that we table this, maybe we can ask our administrator to bring the Humane Society back to discuss maybe euthanization. You know, I look at a lot of townships, they have bounties on park owners, okay? So maybe you do something like that. Again, it sounds, you know, it's a cat, but still, you're right. I know there's a lot of information about how they'll go kill other, birds, and they're very destructive when it comes to things. So that would be my suggestion, that we table this issue, don't take a vote on it, because they're just asking us to run the money through it. If our administrator can maybe help us out, it's not that we're putting money of our own into this. This is the source well, and if you could clarify that, if I may, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, Commissioner Wincher, you're correct. This is outside funding that's coming in to help an organization within Morrison County address a problem that they've identified. This is not direct taxpayer dollars of Morrison County residents. This is, as I said, this is outside grant money coming in. To your request, Commissioner Wincher, I look to our administrator and ask. I have to ask the question about timing. Is there a? I don't want to, especially with the absence of Commissioner Lemire today, to allow him to have input into this issue too. And Commissioner Casper, I applaud you for your insight into this and your passion on this. But I also don't want to tie the hands of the Humane Society in not allowing them an opportunity. Do we know if there is a hard stop date for application on this that would affect them by us not taking action?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, to respond to those last 2 points, the timing of it, the packet is due by November 5th. We do have one more board date on November 4th that could action this item then and still meet the deadline for the submission of their packet. And then as far as the dollars, what's required through the grant, as I understand, is local municipality support, where the Humane Society came in, I think, on their budget discussion, and again here last week, and they are looking for Little Falls and Morrison County. City of Little Falls and Morrison County support on this resolution to be part of the application packet.
That is our, gentlemen, you understand that our input on this is support of the resolution, not a monetary donation or monetary match to that. Commissioner Casper, in respect to you and you were the one who asked to have this pulled for discussion. Would you be amenable to having this issue tabled and brought forth at our November 4th meeting with the invitation to the Humane Society and a full board to have discussion on that?
Absolutely, I think that'd be very reasonable.
Thank you, and I appreciate your understanding, your cooperation, and respect for the entire board. Is there a motion to table?
I can make that motion, Mr. Chair.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second to table resolution 4.7 as listed in our agenda. I don't believe this needs to be a roll call. I'll ask all those in favor, first of all, any other discussion to this? Any other discussion? Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor to table this issue signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, issue 4.7 will be tabled and reviewed, the intent to review at our November 4th meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Casper and the rest of the board. Gentlemen, that concludes what was a part of our consent agenda. We now go to our next item this evening, and that is the Boys and Girls Club. And good morning.
Morning.
Thanks for the opportunity to speak to you again. We've met a couple of different times. My name's Deb Nepsis. I work with the Boys and Girls Clubs of Central Minnesota. And
Thank you.
Little Falls is a part of the Boys and Girls Clubs of Central Minnesota.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you. Yeah, this is our impact report. So it's just a summary of some of the programs and the successes of our Little Falls Boys and Girls Club, which you guys have been supporting for a number of years, both under Boys and Girls Clubs of Central Minnesota and previously under the Boys and Girls Clubs of the North Star, who we worked with.
So Deb,
Yes.
before you, and I
Please.
apologize for interrupting, before you proceed any further, would you please state your name and the organization for the record so we have it on the tape?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Deb Nebesis, Boys and Girls Clubs of Central Minnesota, today representing the Boys and Girls Clubs of Little Falls.
Thank you.
Yes, and again, thank you for the opportunity and the support in the past. We've had a lot of stuff going on at our Boys and Girls Club in Little Falls, lots of expansion of both our program, a lot of improvements on the building, and we've actually opened 2 additional Kid Stop sites in Little Falls. We are working with the school district. Previously, the before and after school programs were done by the Little Falls School District. They had wanted to move out of that, the before and after school childcare business, and asked if Boys and Girls Clubs of Central Minnesota would bring our Kid Stop program in, which we certainly did. So in June, we opened the Lindbergh Kid Stop site, and that site, I just got some information from one of our staff, that site is serving right now about 32 kids. In total, 20 kids after school, 12 kids in the morning before school starts. And then this past September, just a month ago, we opened the Lincoln Kid Stop site. That site is serving 57 kids right now, 35 after school, another 22 in the morning. So Kid Stop has a fee associated with it. It's a fee-for-service program, but what we try to do is ensure that any child or family who needs services through that program are able to access them. So we have a really robust scholarship fund. So we use some of the dollars that we raise in the community through our individual and corporate donors, and then we also use some of our United Way of Morrison County funding to make sure that we have access for all of those kids. And our kids at our Kid Stop site are absolutely welcome to use our club, our Little Falls Boys and Girls Club. So it's right down the street in the old Red Owl building, I always say. And so that program is open from 2 o'clock after school until 7 p.m. It was also open all summer, 7 a.m. until 6 p.m. for a really small fee, about $135 a month for families. So we worked really hard to make that service accessible and very affordable for Little Falls families. And we served about 110 kids a day at that program, in addition to the kids that we served at Lindbergh. So as I said, we've expanded our program offerings. We have identified 2 new full-time positions at our club. So we're hiring additional people in the Little Falls community. The other thing we're really doing is investing in that building. When we took over the club 2 years ago, because the last organization really struggled financially, they were unable to do some of the preventative maintenance, I think, at the time that should have been done, and certainly any of the updates and expansions on the building, which is understandable. They had a lot going on, and they were really working hard to make sure that they had the program running. But when we got that building, we realized, oh, we're really gonna have to invest in it to make it a little bit better club and a better facility for our kids. Plus, the Boys and Girls Club also owns the thrift store, the New to You thrift store part of the building, and that needed investments as well. So we're working with Carol Anderson, and then also with Jesse Vito through the Initiative Foundation on a Main Street grant that's going to help us renovate and improve the kitchen so we can serve full-service meals out of that program. Right now, we're partnering with the school district, which is great, but the transportation is a lot of work to get the food to and from. So we'll be able to serve those meals and snacks at the Boys and Girls Club. We're also investing in the HVAC system, the roof, the columns on the outside, parking lot improvements, all of those kinds of things. So it's, we would always rather spend our donor dollars, of course, in our programs, with our staff, with our kids, but obviously if we don't have good infrastructure, we don't have a safe building, then we're not gonna be able to run our programs. So I would say that's probably the biggest accomplishment in the past year, aside from what we think has been really good service to the kids and families of our community. We're also really expanding in the community, hopefully to serve more kids and families. Can I answer any questions at all?
Fantastic report, Deb, thank you. Gentlemen, questions, comments for Deb this morning?
If I may, Mr. President.
Commissioner Wincher.
Again, it's this club, you call it a club, I don't know. It's amazing what it does for the community, and especially the young people in this area. It gives them some purpose, gives them somewhere to go. And again, this has been going on for many, many years. You've done very good as far as financially, you're talking about that, bringing it back into, that it's not a burden on everything. So great job with that as far as your management skills. But again, people have to realize what this does for the community, especially, here in Morrison County, Little Falls. So great job, and thank you.
Pass that on to the staff.
Anybody else? Anybody else? Deb, thank you so much for being here this morning.
Obviously, it goes without saying, without the support from the community and certainly Morrison County, we wouldn't be able to provide these services. So thank you.
You're welcome. Keep up the good work.
Absolutely. See you next year.
Look forward to it.
Gentlemen, next on the agenda, we have a report from the Lake Chaminade Lid.
Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning. It sounds like we have Cindy on line, is that correct?
That's correct, Mr. Chair.
That is correct, and I'm amazed at how many, I hear the voices and I recognize them, so we've been together for a long time.
Yes, we have.
If you can do the next slide. Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the board. My name is Cindy Kevern. I'm the administrator for the Lake Chaminade Lake Improvement District. Today, we also have Rick Rosar and Fred Combe online Rick is the chair, Fred is the treasurer, and I believe we have Bob Engel in the audience. We also
Yes.
on the board have Patricia Tweet, who's the secretary, and Dwayne Hendricks, who is the director, and he is not with us today, or they are not with us today. Next slide. What I'd like to do this morning is review our 2025 activities for the LID, and then also tell you a little bit about what we're planning to do in 2026. With regard to the aquatic invasive species, we conducted lake surveys, remediation to control the invasive species. We also received the AIS Partnership Grant. Thank you very much to Morrison County Board for your support. That grant helped us fund surveys and treatments, ambassadors at the landings, public access signage, and new this year zebra mussel settling plates, which I'll explain in a little bit. We also conducted an annual sampling for zebra mussels and spiny water fleas, and the results showed no infestations. Next slide. With regard to the aquatic invasive species, for our surveys, we hire Freshwater Scientific Survey Services, and they surveyed the vegetated portion of the lake on July 31st. To conduct that survey, they navigate a meandering search path, and they look at the surface. They have surface observations, they have sonar readings, and they also toss rakes to locate and delineate those areas of aquatic or Eurasian water milfoil. For those rake samples, they drag a sampling rake over approximately 10 square feet of lake bottom and record the density. When they find it, the location is marked, the water depth is recorded, and the depth of growth is rated. They noted that the Eurasian water milfoil treatments appear to be providing control. They did find some patches with recommendations for treatment, and we note them they're noted on the next chart. Next screen. On this screen, you can see that the points at which they found most of the Eurasian water milfoil. In the blue, you can actually see the meandering line that they take to survey. In the green, you can see the water milfoil density. So the big globs are where most of the milfoil is. And then the yellow portion areas is where the treatment is. So you can see it's mostly on the east side of the lake, the southeast, and the very northeast, which is a small bay. If you've ever been on the lake, it's a very common area for fishing, and it's kind of a small bay that get almost in and of itself. And so the milfoil kind of gets caught in there, and they also treat that area. Next slide. We also have some areas of curly leaf pondweed in the very southeast and very southwest portion of the lake. The curly leaf cannot be treated until the spring, which what they do is they kill the new growth from the seeds that it dropped in this year. So next spring, we will be treating for curly leaf pondweed. Next slide. We also have a very successful ambassador program on the lake. It continued in 2025 with ambassadors at both the east and the west landings. They are there both on weekends and holidays. We have 5 ambassadors that were hired, a total of 730.5 hours of coverage. They staff the 2 landings from early May through Labor Day. They do a really good job of educating boat launch users about the cleaning and draining of their boats, the importance of cleaning to control the milfoil. And they also talk about disposition of used bait. On average, the ambassadors had 15 to 30 watercraft encounters during their shift. I thought this was kind of an interesting statistic. They actually ask each boater or watercraft user which lake they came from, where the watercraft was last used. And half of them were last used or only used on Lake Chaminade, and the other half came from approximately 120 different lakes. They also asked for suggestions. Some boaters suggested having coverage during the week, and some suggested having a boat cleaning station. In 2025, the total cost of the ambassador program was $17,600. $70.55. I also will mention that attached to the report that we had sent, we do have an ambassador report, so it kind of talks a little bit more in depth about the ambassador program. Next slide. New this year, we have the zebra mussel settling plates. They've been used successfully throughout many areas of the country. And so we kind of got wind of them and asked Morrison County for some money. And luckily, we received money this year, and we used that funds to buy the materials so that we could and the board members put together the settling plates. We deployed 7 settling plates around the lake for monitoring and quick detection of zebra mussels. If you know anything about zebra mussels, they like to attach themselves to solid surfaces. So these settling plates are a pretty good indication of whether there are zebra mussels in the lake. To date, no zebra mussels have been found. We hope to deploy more of these next year around the lake. Next slide. Another activity we had this year is we installed a lighting at the West Landing. The DNR provided a motion sensing solar powered light and permitting for the installation. And then this past spring, the light was installed on a pole at the West Landing. This light assists boaters with the cleaning of boats for AIS as they exit the lake during dusk to dawn. It also just helps boaters, quite frankly, with getting their boats all ready to go and deployed. So I think people are appreciative of the light. Next slide. Other 2025 activities relate to communications. We conduct board of directors meetings. We have 4 regularly scheduled meetings each year, and 1 special meeting was held in 2025. The meetings are announced on the website. They're held online. And we give a viewing opportunity at the Scandi Valley Town Hall, where we have 1 or more board members in attendance. The meetings are open to the public, and notes are posted on the website. We also publish periodic newsletters to subscribers. We mailed 2 mailings to property owners over the past year. And of course, we have our website, which includes information on the board, LID meetings, project information, financial, quarterly treasury reports, and other information that may be of interest. And this past year, we also had an audit of our financial records, and that has been completed. Next slide. A little update on our high water project. I'm going to kind of breeze through some background in case there are some that are not familiar with our project. The purpose is to establish a maximum operating level on the lake. It includes the installation of a lake outlet structure and pumping station at the west end of the lake. Water will then flow west, eventually to Ditch 41 and to the Long Prairie River. We awarded a contract to Landwehr Construction for the construction of the outlet, and Houston Engineering was hired to oversee the project. Pipe was installed, ditches were graded, and a cofferdam was completed at the inlet area of the lake to allow for dewatering and the installation of that structure. The pump house has been built, a picture is to the right. The pump has been installed and electrical work has been completed. However, in the spring of 2024, after a period of heavy rain, an issue was discovered with a portion of the gravity pipe on the west side of Highway 10. The original project completion date was scheduled for September 30th, 2024. The project completion has been delayed. Next slide. The current status is that we have halted payments to the contractor. We have worked both with the contractor and the engineer to determine a plan for repair of the piping by the contractor to ensure that water will flow appropriately through the route. Despite our substantial efforts, this dispute remains unresolved because of Houston's and Landwehr's differing opinion on who is at fault and which party should be responsible for financing the analysis and repair. We continue to assert that both Landwehr and Houston are responsible for financing the repair and resolution, and that they need to find a solution for a functioning system that they are contractually obligated to provide. The LID has hired a conflict counsel attorney to assist with the analysis and resolution of the construction issues and to negotiate with the parties and determine a plan and timeline to resolve the issue or move forward with legal action. A mediation was held in May with the parties, but there was not a final resolution. After the mediation, a legal complaint was filed against both Houston and Landwehr. Next slide. As I mentioned, the LID has been working very hard with both parties through attorneys now to negotiate for a solution. Over the last 30 to about 45 days, there have been a lot of active discussions about trying to move forward and get this done. The parties have come up with this alternative option, which they are continuing to explore at this time. We hired 2 engineering firms to perform additional soil testing, laboratory analysis, and to prepare for factual reports. And these, of course, are outside engineering firms, not Houston Engineering. A pump analysis has also been completed. The option that is under consideration is to extend the force main along the current route to add approximately 1,375 feet. This new force main would be less buoyant and be constructed 2 to 3 feet further underground. The initial analysis and review has determined that this option is viable and cost-effective. The next steps and where we are today is to estimate costs, determine responsibility, and then complete a design. If this option is selected, construction can be completed at any time of the year. So it doesn't have to be during the winter or during dry season this summer. It can be any time. Once a plan has been made, work will be completed to resolve the pipe issue. After testing is completed, pumping can then begin. At this time, the final timeline has not been determined, and resolution will likely not occur until 2026, especially since we're in October already. Next slide. Another thing that we wanted to mention, we presented this at our annual meeting as well, that we have made payments. This is up until the point in which the problem was found. So we made payments, including the construction contractor and engineer. We also have had incurred legal costs since then, permitting, utility costs, et cetera, of almost $4.9 million. We've also received some revenue. So we've received DNR reimbursements at $2.6 million. And we've received almost, I think we're actually at about $200,000 in interest earnings to date.
If I may, Mr. Vice Chair.
Next slide.
Cindy, I have a question while it's fresh in my mind.
Commissioner Wincher.
Hey, Cindy, based on this information
Yes.
with who's, pointing fingers, it's Houston or it's the Landwehr, but who's gonna incur those costs, attorney fees, additional, if you're gonna do a different avenue to take this down the road? Is this all gonna be incurred by the LID owners who basically, had the confidence in the Houston Engineering and Landwehr? I'm assuming you are gonna subrogate for your own attorney fees and anything else, including so that the landowners are not gonna be responsible for this additional money that's required to get this pump done.
Cindy?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Winchard, that's exactly our position, is that the LID is not responsible and that they need to come to the table and pay up for that repair. We're also including any other costs that we have incurred as a result of the repair. Of course, that's, that's still open for negotiations, but that is the LID's position.
So you're gonna go after them for your attorney fees who's representing you to do this, is that correct?
That is our position at this point.
All right, thank you.
Cindy, go ahead and proceed.
Okay, next slide. Moving on from the high water project, another activity is always our annual meeting and our voting. The LID used survey and ballot systems to administer the voting process with both mail-in and online options, so people can go to a website and vote, or they can mail a ballot in. There were 147 ballots cast, about 48%, or almost half of our people voted. We had three budget questions. Number one was the non-project or administrative budget of $60,000. That was voted yes, 59%. AIS budget of $42,500, yes was 71%. And then the third was a high water project. This is for operations of $56,000. That was 58%. We also had an election for directors. We had 2 permanent residency seats open, which means the candidates have to be permanent residents around the lake, on the lake, I should say. We only had 2 people nominated. Both were incumbents, Bob Engel and Dwayne Hendricks. They both won, and there were 21 write-ins, but there were no other people nominated for those seats. Next slide.
Mr. Chair, back.
Just, this is,
Excuse me, Cindy.
Go
Commissioner,
back to
Sure.
the slide, please.
yes, is that the slide you want?
Yes, please.
Commissioner Casper.
Yes, Cindy, question to you. That number 3, high water project, 56 grand, is that to pay the power company when the pump is actually being used, or what does that cost?
yes, Commissioner, so that we have a operations budget for the high water project. It includes things like paying for electricity. We actually have, some repair and once the system gets running, there will be repair and maintenance. We'll actually have to have somebody, helping to maintain that system. We also have included in there fees or costs that we will have once we get done with the project. We'll have to hold a public hearing and do assessment. There's some legal and administrative costs there. I was going to mention this in the future, but it's a good point right here, is this budget has been reduced substantially. In 2025 budget, it was $220,000. In 2026, we reduced it to $56,000 because we're going to be using unspent carryover funds from the 2025 budget to help support that in 2026. So this is a much reduced budget from last year.
Very good. Thank you, Cindy. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome. Cindy, continue.
Okay, just kind of a summary of our accomplishments that I've already mentioned. For AIS, we did a survey, treatment, and hand pulling. We had ambassadors at 2 landings. We deployed settling plates. We installed a light at the West Landing. 5 meetings, 3 newsletters, 2 U.S. mail letters, many updates to our website, including treasury reports. And then, of course, with the high water project, we've worked very hard with both Houston and Landwehr to try to negotiate a solution. We held a mediation. We actually filed in the court against both parties, and now we're working on developing an alternative option. We also have been working with the DNR to receive our reimbursement. We completed the voting process and then also worked with an auditor to complete a financial audit for 2024. It's been a busy year. So next slide. Just a little bit on our 2026 work plan. A lot of it is similar to in past with the aquatic invasive species. We'll again be doing a survey, treatments, hand pulling, ambassador program, signage and brochures, and then of course applying for the AIS Morrison County Partnership Grant. Next. We'll also be doing our newsletter communications, continued mailings to provide updates, accounting and finance. I should probably mention that we not only have treasury reports and financial audit, we also have financial reports done by an accountant, a local accountant for our LID. And then we, of course, have news posted on our website. Next slide. This is a kind of an estimated timeline for our high water project. We're working again very hard this fall to come up with that alternative solution and negotiate it for the lid. Once that process is determined, we'll work out a schedule for completing the pipe repair and final testing. We're hoping that we can get that construction done in probably not the fall of 2025, probably more likely in the winter of 2026, and start up those pumping operations winter or spring of 26. Once the construction is done and all of the costs are known, then we can hold our 429 assessment hearing. Then we'll determine the final assessment and charge amounts for each property owner. We have to mail out notices and then hold that hearing. And then property owners will be given the option to either pay off that amount in full or to pay the balance over time. We will be bonding at that time to be able to do that. When that is complete, and for those owners that do not pay off immediately but elect to pay off over time, then we will be working with Morrison County to provide that charge and assessment amount in their property tax mailing that goes out each year for 2027 and beyond. Next. So as you know, the project or the budget amounts that we include each year then turn into a charge to the property owner. So as the votes 1, 2, and 3 are approved this year, the charge for a residential property owner will be approximately $457.05. It's approximate because the exact number of property owners aren't known until about November, in about a month. That will be calculated with Morrison County. This amount is substantially, as I mentioned, reduced from 2025. In 2025, it was $894.20, so it's about half of what it was last year. And that's because we're going to use carryover funds from previous year's unspent funds. The next paragraph or bullet point is kind of old. It's actually from 2023, but we don't have any updated information at this time. A lot of times people ask, what will the cost to the residential property owner be for the high water outlet project? How much will their assessment and charge be? And again, we estimated this in June of 2023 with an estimated total project local cost of $5.5 million, 338 properties. And this does not include the reimbursement received from the DNR. So this $5.5 million will be reduced by that DNR grant. The standard charge at that time, using that calculation, is $9,364. And the average total assessment, which varies by property, is $6,587. So we do, that's about $16,000 per property that will be reduced because we received the DNR grant. Next slide. And then what we're requesting today from the Morrison County Board is approval of our 2026 budget. And again, that non-project budget amount is $60,000 with an estimated per parcel residential charge of $173.02. The 2026 AIS budget of $42,500 with the charge rate of $122.55. And the 2026 high water project budget for operations of $56,000 with an estimated per parcel charge rate of $161.48. We're asking for approval of the 2026 budget of $158,500, the estimated per charge rate of $457.05, and then our annual report. And we want to thank the board, by the way, for all of your support, both monetarily and it's been very helpful to have Commissioner Lemieux. He actually has attended some of our meetings, and it's been very helpful to have that support. And that concludes my presentation.
Mr. Chair, I will make a motion to approve the annual budget with more discussion.
Mr. Chair, so Cindy, and correct me, I think what you're asking for is approval of the Lake Shamana Lids Performance Plan, budget, and per parcel levy of 45705, is that correct?
That is correct, thank
I
you.
don't know if you'd be willing to amend that, Commissioner?
Yeah, it sounds good. I'll amend whatever you said, so. That was my intent.
Just to include the performance plan.
Yes, yes,
Thank you.
yes.
I can second that, Mr. Chair.
So we have a motion and a second by Commissioner Casper. Further discussion.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Casper.
I tell you what, Cindy, you folks have gone over and above. This is an incredible report. Lots of detail. You guys have had some real struggles in the last few years, and I commend you for all your work. I do have one question, Cindy. With the amount of rain that we received, I think in our area anyway, it's been quite a little this summer, pretty steady. I'm wondering, what is the rain, what's been the effect on Lake Shamana, please?
Yes, Commissioner, the rain amount has had an impact. The elevation of the lake has gone down. It is still above the,
Normal
Rick,
high
I'm
water mark?
blocking on the.
Ordinary high water
Thank
mark?
you, yes, the high water mark. It is still above that high water mark, but it has been reduced since the previous year.
Okay. Thank you, Cindy. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
If I may, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Winter.
More of a comment than, looking at your voting, again, the participation still is not where I would like to see, the people that are landowners to vote. I don't know if you go back to that chart, I think it's almost half the people still are not voting for this. But what I'm looking at is it seems like it's getting a little closer, the affirmatives versus the negative as far as, the past years, that more and more people are questioning this dollar amount. I mean, that's a substantial increase, $460, per year, and that's not, over the, I don't know, what is that, a 10-year period, but yeah, it's still, I just would like to get that up to about 75% of the people that are voting, so that tells me, you know what, you guys are doing a good job. You guys had a lot of controversy over the years on this to get this moving forward, but it's still not there yet, so I don't know how many years it's been, we don't even wanna go down that rabbit hole, but yeah, again, it's, the voters spoke, and they said that they wanna approve this, but again, I just wanted to comment this, it looks like it's getting a little closer for the yeas and the nays to all of a sudden, decide that they don't wanna do this, but again, you got a big percentage of still that are not participating, so I will be, in favor of this, motion.
Further comments, and thank you, Commissioner Winter. Further comments, Commissioner Moran.
I think I saw notices in the Morrison County Record go out about lake aeration. Is this something done strictly by the DNR, or do you guys have involvement with that? And what does it accomplish?
Mr. Engel.
Yeah, I can answer that. We get severe ice jacking on our lake, and of course, in years past, the water level has dropped, but in the higher water years, we've lost cabins. They've been destroyed by the ice coming off the lake. What aeration does is it actually prevents when the ice sheet grows on Shamana. It's a long lake. In fact, I'm on the west side, so we just got through putting in 600 feet of that. And what it does is it forms it prevents the ice sheet from coming up against the shoreline. So it melts a little section, maybe a foot or two wide, depending upon temperature. And so we just run air through a pipe and bubbles the surface, and it melts the ice as it creeps from the lake towards the shoreline. Areas that aren't protected by aeration, you'll see what's called an ice ridge around the lake. It's nature's way of protecting the lake from runoff. But the damage done from ice jacking is pretty severe. If you go on Shamana, you can see the number of trees that are leaning over and falling into the lake. And so we've done So it does, you know, and it also prevents the shoreline from being eroded, which pollutes the lake.
Is this individual property owners
Yes.
that do this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we are permitted by the DNR, we have to apply for a permit. Permit's $250 a year. You have to go through some training and so on. So it is individual. I think we have more aeration, have had more aeration systems on Chaminade than any lake around.
There was a lot of them.
Yeah, there was, at a high point, I think we had like 50.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Further discussion? Further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, gentlemen, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion prevails. Cindy, I want to say thank you to you and to Rick and Fred, also online, and especially to say thank you to Bob Engel for being here with us this morning. Bob, it's always good to see you.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Enjoy your day.
Yeah, you too.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, next on the agenda, Land Services.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Very much so.
Good morning.
Good morning, Amy.
Good morning, Amy.
All right, I've got a couple of items for you today. The first one is to consider the conditional use permit application from Charles Gruber and Nathan Gruber. This is to establish a Tier 2 poultry feedlot. This was recommended for approval by the Planning Commission with 4 conditions. And those conditions are, 1, the wetland boundaries must have a barrier installed to avoid impact from construction. 2, the area surrounding the barns shall have permanent vegetation planted and maintained. 3, a stacking slab must be constructed before stocking the barns with birds. And 4, at least 25% of the manure must be transferred or sold.
Wishes of the board.
I'll make motion to approve the conditional use permit for the Gruber Poultry Feedlot.
I can second that.
And so we have a motion, we have a second by Commissioner Casper. Discussion. 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 Seeing no discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion prevails.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. Last item I have is to consider the conditional use permit request from Jordan and Anna Schutz. This also is to establish a Tier 2 poultry feedlot. This also, excuse me, also is recommended for approval by the Planning Commission with 1 condition, and that condition is the area surrounding the barns shall have a minimum 50-foot permanent vegetation buffer planted and maintained.
I'll make a motion with the condition.
We have a motion by Commissioner Wincher, we have a second by Commissioner Casper to approve of this. Discussion. Seeing no discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion prevails. Thank you.
Vice Chair Amy, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Again, it's off this here.
Certainly.
Anyway, just so, and I know the answer, but let's say we have an applicant that came to the front of the planning commission, it's approved by them or recommended to the coming, and they pulled their application. What happens when they pull their application?
If we have something that went before the planning commission, and then they subsequently pull the application, they supply that to me in writing, and then we pull that from the agenda. And it removes our obligation then to give it any further consideration, so they're effectively asking for us to not consider that request anymore, so then we're not bound by any requirement to make a decision on that request.
And is there a time limit that is Land Services okay if they pull their application? Do we have a week, or is it automatically as soon as they decide to pull the application, then it's off the table?
As soon as we receive written notice from the applicant, then it's considered dead.
Okay, and then if they ever want to redo it, they'd have to do the whole process all
Yes,
over
that's
again.
correct.
All right. Thank you very much.
Anything else
you.
for Amy? Amy,
All right,
have a
that's
great
all I
day.
have, Mr. Chair.
Have a great day.
Thanks, Amy.
Yeah, thanks for last week, too.
Gentlemen, next on the agenda, Health and Human Services.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners.
Good morning, Nathan.
Nathan Bertram, Health and Human Services Director, and
Amy Waldvogel, Financial Assistant Supervisor.
so we're here today with our MFIP biennial service agreement. This is done every 2 years, so the last time I was up here with this was with Karen Shadowski, still in 2023. And so this is an agreement that helps our families and children in Morrison County. Amy will speak a little bit about the specifics here in a minute, but we partner with the Rural Minnesota SEP on this. And as far as Amy and I can tell, we've done that since 2019. And so they worked on this application with us. And so we'll share a little bit about what MFIP Services is, what they do for our residents, and then at the end, I would look for your approval for us to move forward with the 2-year agreement again. And with that, I'm gonna turn it over to Amy to talk about MFIP a little bit.
Good morning, Amy.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. So MFIP, if we want to move to the next slide. As you can see here, it's our Minnesota Family Investment Program. It's commonly known as MFIP. It's designed to help our families and children meet those basic needs that they have, while helping the parents move forward to financial stability. Most of this is through work. They do have options to go through what is called an activity plan, where they can be participating in some educational activities, job searching, things such as that. The ultimate goal between us and Rural Minnesota SEP is to be able to help the family reach that financial stability where they no longer need to be on the program. The participants work with a job counselor to create the employment plan. These plans consist of weekly required hours of working, job searching, or the educational activities. And then, like I said, ultimately it's to be able to move them off the MFIP plan. Next slide. MFIP is a 60-month lifetime limit for the program unless they meet an extension. Some of these extensions include employed extension, so they're working weekly minimum hours. This allows them to work lesser hours to be able to take care of the children at home. Limited work due to illness or disability in the household, so if they're needed at home to take care of those children due to either illness or some sort of disability, then they do qualify for an extension. Hard to employ, that would look at a lot of their intellectual abilities, their physical abilities, things like that. So we do work with those that are trying to apply for Social Security. And then if they themselves are ill or incapacitated, so if there is a medical opinion request from a doctor that they can only work so many hours or they cannot work any hours at all. On the right-hand side of this slide here, you'll see the family wage level as well as the amount of their standard that they would receive, including the cash standard and the food portion included in that, as MFIB is a combination of cash and food. Next slide. So this next slide shows you currently what we have as well as putting against past years. So I've got it broken out here of adults, children, and cases. So here in 2025, this is current up until the end of September. We currently have 622 adults, 1,115 children for a total of 1,737 participants. And that's a total of 718 cases from January until the end of September. The rest of these, the 2022 totals, the 23 totals, and the 24 totals are for the full calendar year of January through December. So you can see where we're pacing up against those past years for our cases as well as our participants. We have stayed pretty even throughout the years, especially the last 2 to 3 years. 22 was a little bit higher. Of course, at that time, we were still coming down from pandemic numbers. Next slide. So the MFIB, state cash, federal cash, and food. MFIB is a combination of all 3 of these items. The food is federally distributed to the families, and then the cash is a mixture of state and federal. So the MFIB cash that is state funded is when the assistance unit is meeting exemption, as I spoke about in one of the previous slides there. So that's when the state cash comes into play. Otherwise, it is federal cash that is distributed out to the families and, like I said, federal food. Again, we are lining up pretty close to those previous years. As you can see, it has slightly gone down every year since the pandemic. I do expect it to stay pretty even, pretty close to what we are at in '24. And that was all that I had for the information there.
I will just add, so MFIP services are federal and state dollars. There's no local county dollars as that goes to that program. It is a mandated service. And the partnership with rural Minnesota SEP, their numbers have been outstanding when compared against the rest of the state, so they've been doing a great job for us. We are working on trying to find a date with them to bring them here before you to just share on their numbers. They're more the experts on their numbers than we are, and so we're working on doing that yet still this year. I don't know if you read through the whole 20-something pages. I would call attention to probably page 20, which kind of runs down the budget for the MFIP agreement for the 2-year cycle. Numbers for year 2 can adjust slightly after year 1, depending on if there's increases or decreases in the state and federal dollars. I think what I would point out is those crisis services. We administer those when said crisis would arise, that would come through our teams for approval. And then I'd point out the income maintenance administration. Those are dollars that are kept here at Morrison County to support the work of Amy's team in determining eligibility for this. And the rest of those funds primarily, well, minus the admin goes to accounting. The rest of those funds go to then rural Minnesota SEP to work with these families to work them through the program and try to get them employed and then ultimately off the program. So, and with that, I would open it up for questions.
Commissioner Casper.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a simple question. What about this government shutdown? Has that been affecting this, or what do you see going on?
I was anticipating that question.
Oh, unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah, we got some numbers. I think, well, I'll stick to SNAP for a second, and then we'll talk about MFIP. So we have roughly 1,300 SNAP cases, which is the food assistance program that's helping people. MFIP cases, we have 85 approximately. And so right now, there's kind of an incident command structure set up at the state level with DCYF, DHS, and then MAXA leadership has been at that as well, discussing what are some things we can do at the state level. MFIP, unfortunately, is complicated with the old antiquated state technology systems. What we kind of have right now is those cash dollars that are federal, and then the SNAP dollars that are also federal that are kind of dwindling as we speak, and then the state dollars are all meshed in that program. And so what our current meetings have been about now is they don't have a way to untangle that system in a good way to like remove SNAP and still be able to offer the state cash part of it to help support these families. And so the last two meetings, there's another one tomorrow, have been about how do we pull that system apart and be able to still support those families, at least in some part of that, with the state dollars allocated towards this program. So it's kind of a complicated mess. Right now, SNAP benefits will continue through October. I don't know without any changes or some kind of allocation towards this program if they'll continue in November. Last week, we did get notice from DCYF that any pending applications not processed by Wednesday at like 10 o'clock PM would not be able to be approved at this point. So Amy's team and Ashley's team did put forward some extra hours trying to get as many kind of out of that pending area that we could approve and move forward as we could. But again, that ultimately just get those families, benefits through October, and in November, those look to cease. The other program that I've mentioned, I think I mentioned in the email to you all, was the WIC program. We have about 670 families and children on that program. That one is kind of a patchwork of different funding. So their plan as of right now is they get some voucher funds back from some of the discounts on formula companies because they contract with them. So their plan is to take those funds and allocate them towards WIC's November payments. And short of that, that's the plan as of now for November. I don't anticipate that will get us far into November. There has been some discussion at the federal level that tariff dollars will be used to support WIC. However, I don't think anyone's seen anything in writing or concrete yet, although, like I said, it's been discussed. And so I think the WIC programs and Minnesota Department of Health are hopeful on that, but we're still waiting on the final word on that. And so I took us a little bit away from this specific program, but for MFIP in particular, everything will run as normal in October. And again, for November, we're looking at how we can pull out any of those SNAP dollars and still offer some of the cash stuff at the state level.
Gets complicated.
Gentlemen, other questions or comments? Nathan, Amy, a very comprehensive report, and this is obviously is a program that helps us address the needs of the most vulnerable people and the neediest in our community. The success of this, though, too, as you had stated, it really goes along with that partnership or that working arrangement in helping to find work and substance for these individuals and families out there. So we're grateful for that arrangement, that working arrangement with rural Minnesota SEP, and we're grateful for your efforts, Amy, in leading this and leading our county in with this program. It's important. It's not the ones that are the most glamorous, obviously, but very necessary in finding sustainability for vulnerable people in our community. So we're grateful and appreciative. So is there action that you would like us to take, Nate, this morning?
Mr. Chair, yes, if we could take action to approve the 2-year biennial plan agreement, that allows me to sign it and get it back to the state.
Gentlemen?
I'll make a motion.
Commissioner Wincher makes a motion to approve of that plan, and Commissioner Casper is going to second that. Further discussion, Commissioner Casper.
Yeah, just to say that, we all want to watch our budgets and our spending. It does our hearts good to hear that you're working with people to get them into the JOB, into a job. That's huge, and that's a great way to push. Thank you for doing that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome. Further discussion? Further discussion? Further discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion prevails. Thank you. Nate, Amy, thank you.
For all your work.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a difficult deal. Keep your chin up.
Gentlemen, good morning. Tony, we have the Public Works report.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Commissioners. Tony Hennon, Morrison County Public Works Director.
Morning, Tony.
Got a handful of items for you this morning. We're going to start with some finalizing of contracts. So look at our first agenda item here. We're requesting authorization for resolution of certificate of final payment on our contract 319 to Knife River Corporation. This is our County Road 202 and 203 paving project. It's a federal project. Wrapped up in September. Work certified came in at 1.8 million, just a little bit over that, so 98.41% of our contract value. Overall, I think the project turned out pretty nice. A vast improvement to the pavements up there, and I think the constituents in that northern part of the county will be quite happy with those improvements.
I'll make a motion for contract number 319.
I'll second it.
We have a motion by Commissioner Wincher. We have a second by Commissioner Moran. Discussion. Seeing no discussion. Gentlemen, this will be a roll call. Commissioner Casper.
Aye.
Commissioner Wincher.
Aye.
Commissioner Moran.
Aye.
The chair votes aye. All those voting in the affirmative, motion prevails.
All right, Mr. Chair, our second item is another finaling of a project. So I'm requesting authorization for resolution certificate of final payment on our contract 320, also to Knife River Corporation. This was our paving projects on CASA 11, 14, County Road 237, 238, and 245. It was completed this past month here in October. So this project certified in at $3,471,665.49. Came in just shy of 97% of our total contract value at 96.84%. Again, really nice paving projects throughout the county. This one had a little bit bigger spread, kind of central and southwest there.
I'd make a motion to approve 320.
We have a motion by Commissioner Casper, a second by Commissioner Moran to approve 320. Discussion. Seeing no discussion. Gentlemen, this will be a roll call also. Commissioner Wincher.
Aye.
Commissioner Moran.
Aye.
The chairman votes aye. Commissioner Casper.
Aye.
All those voting in the affirmative, motion prevails. Tony.
Mr. Chair, our next item is to enter into agreement with Buckman Township for engineering services related to the replacement of Township Bridge L2893 on 40th Ave over the Little Rock Creek. So what this is a joint agreement where we work with the township when one of their bridges becomes deficient. So we provide the engineering services, essentially we'll do the hydraulics, and then the engineering and plan design for a box culvert replacement is what this one will be. And basically when these bridges, as you're familiar with, we do our annual safety inspections. This bridge is starting to deteriorate, and it's reached a point where it's become eligible for township bridge funding, so it's deficient to a point where it should be replaced. This agreement allows us to start working on that and help facilitate the replacement of that structure.
Wish of the board. We have a motion by Commissioner Casper. We have a second by Commissioner Wincher. Discussion. Seeing no discussion. Gentlemen, we'll do a roll call on this. Commissioner Moran?
Aye.
The chairman votes aye. Commissioner Casper?
Aye.
Commissioner Wincher?
Aye.
All those voting in the affirmative, motion prevails.
All right, and our final items are Public Works update. So Matt, I have a PowerPoint that was sent to you. So let's kind of go through our 2025 in a nutshell. You know, we had a really successful year. So if we go to our next stage here, you know, we just finalized a couple of our pavement or our transportation improvement projects. You know, there's a picture of 202, I believe. So if you go to our next slide here, we had a vast program this year, with, 6 different contracts, including one with MnDOT on their Trunk Highway 238. And we did a little over $10 million worth of work. Go to the next slide there, Matt. You can see kind of, we were all over the county. We had a bunch up north. We had the 202 and 203 paving projects that we just finalized there. That green next to it was our CASA 1 reconstruct, 4 miles of road reconstructed there. Then you get to the yellow dots, kind of, there we are. Those were our box culverts. So each of those dots, or 3 of those 4 dots, is actually a bridge replacement. So we took a deficient structure, replaced it with something updated, and then one of them is actually a culvert project. And then the one dot that's a little bit south, that was a joint project with Boot Township. So we replaced one of their deficient structures, similar to the agreement we just entered in with Buckman Township. That was done with Boot to help them facilitate the reconstruction of that. But as you go through the rest of the county there, south, some additional paving projects. So a really nice, robust program. Had some fun stats. We touched almost 30 miles, so 28.25 miles of new pavement inside the county. North of 80,000 tons, so 81,000 tons of hot mix out, making a pretty good dent inside of our program. If we go to your next one, we talk about those deficient structures. Here's kind of a quick little life cycle of one. This is the Big Mink on 46 that was replaced this year. And what you're seeing here is actually a picture of timber extensions. So inside the middle of the road, there's actually a precast culvert that was originally in the early 1900s. And then at some point, the county extended the culvert with wood. And eventually, obviously, wood deteriorates, starts to rot. We were getting pretty good failures in there. So if you go to the next one, that's kind of what it looked like after they peeled off the top. So those are wood planks driven into the ground just to extend that culvert and, essentially widen the road for a little bit wider shoulders at that time. Go to our next picture. There you can see the original precast culvert. That's kind of cool. We don't see it, cast in place culvert. We don't see as much cast in place anymore, but really neat structures, even today, probably 75, almost 100 years old, solid. They had you can see them swinging a jackhammer or like a wrecking ball, trying to break her up a little bit, but pretty cool. But yeah, it's interesting to watch how construction's changed over the years. So you have your original cast in place culvert at some time, the county decided they needed a little bit wider shoulders, ended up using timber. And it worked, right? But as it starts to deteriorate, you start seeing those failures, shoulders falling in, and really that structure it was time to replace. Go to your next one, you can see what we started installing. Large box, these are all precast, so they're cast somewhere else, delivered, and then put together on site. Go to our next one there, Matt. That's kind of what it looks like in place. So big twin box structure. The stuff kind of on the top of the picture, that black, that's actually where they had the Big Mink routed while they were doing this construction. So they had a little cofferdam put up, and then the water ran through there while they installed the new boxes. You go to the next one. There's your final product, a little bit of change from those timber extensions, and obviously, number one, much safer, nice flat end slopes, and 2, increasing that hydraulic capacity to better service our constituents in our road there. So kind of neat. It's fun to look back at our construction projects and the kind of progress that can be made with those. It's kind of fun. So I'll go on to our next one. Did our annual pavement striping. So this is just essentially a little bit of a safety project we use some of our county road dollars on. We try to split the county into 3 different sections. This year we were in the east side there, so those was all new striping on some of those roads, and then some of the ones that are left off were either recently touched or we were in there paving, and so they got new striping with our paving project. Go to our next page. There's DJ and Kyle. So DJ Prom, our assistant engineer, Kyle Muncie, one of our engineering technicians. They're out doing bridge safety inspections. So this time of year, our engineering staff's very busy looking at all those structures inside the county. If you go to our next one there, Matt. We had 101, or have 101 bridge safety inspections to do this year. So Kyle, DJ, myself, and then Brady Becker are all very busy, slowly tracking these down. Month of September had a few, October has been very busy, and then November has a few. So over that 3-month period, we'll be looking at 101 structures. And what that does, it helps make sure that those structures are still in safe condition. And then as they start to deteriorate, we're able to track those deteriorations and start getting them in programs where they can be replaced. You know, that's how those boxes on 46, you know, came into fruition, how that bridge or box culvert with Boo Township, same with the agreement we just entered into with Buckman. So a nice program. You know, obviously Minnesota is very sensitive with our bridge safety inspections. We're fortunate to have a really good staff. You know, currently we have 3 bridge team leaders on our staff, myself, DJ, and Brady. You know, with the amount of structures we have inside of the county, we're hoping to add one more, so we're hoping Kyle will become one too, just to spread that load, because that's a lot of structures. These take a lot of time to actually physically go out, inspect, walk through them, put your hands on those structures, and then write reports that get submitted to the state and eventually to the federal bridge office. Go to our next one, we'll kind of talk a little bit about our maintenance. Here you see Toby, he's out doing some of everyone's favorite green signs. That's always been a kind of a hot topic the last couple of years. We go to the next one. We've had a busy year in the maintenance side. Culverts were a little bit less than last year. We did 6 centerline tapers, replaced about 30 accesses. Those are driveways coming onto our county roads. The guys were out, they gravelled 6 miles of county road, and we got into our routine items. So your routine patching, your crack sealing, mastic we've been experimenting with the last couple of years. They did a number of miles shouldering. Mowing was actually a really busy year. You know, typically we mow 2 to 3 times a year. This year we hit 4, just had a lot of grass going. So that's been good. Right now you'll see, if you see our mowers out, they've switched over to the brush hogs, so they're starting to brush our ditches and going through that into the fall until we reach a point where either the snow's too high or we have the whole county brushed. Then obviously you saw the sign maintenance, you know, so outside of those 911 signs or the street signs, you know, we take care of our additional siding districts in our normal program. Here was kind of a fun project, and some people took notice to this. You can see our guys on the left there. They're actually taking our existing boards, and this is our Sioux Line Trail crossing Trunk Highway 10. And they're flipping them over. So those boards over the years become deteriorated. Well, the bottom hasn't seen as much wear. And what's been happening is the screws were starting to rust, deteriorate a little bit. Some of those boards are becoming loose, and then just your normal wear on that. So we were able to flip them over, and then we re-adhered them with some new screws or bolts. And you can kind of see the contrast between the two, the ones that have been flipped and the ones that haven't. Go to the next one there. That's what it looked like when it was all done. You know, so fun fact, they used 33 boxes of those bolts, almost 8,000 of them. Took them a while, and they did it kind of on and off. But yeah, a nice little project, you know.
Is that Blanchard?
This is over Trunk Highway 10.
Oh, over 10, okay.
Yeah, but we're trying it out and successful. So we'll probably kind of implement this as we have some time with our maintenance staff and some funds inside the parks budget. Then we did a couple numerous things. You know, we were at the county fair. We just wrapped up our snowplow safety last week. So this year we visited 9 different schools. Last year was 10, so we had one that wasn't interested this year. But we talked to 557 second graders. Go to the next one there. And what the guys talk about is obviously our snowplows they're kind of exciting. They're big, and when we have snow, maybe attractive to younger kids. And that presents a big safety issue. So by us going out and just outreach to the different elementary schools, they're able to actually see or talk with our operators. You know, you got Johnny Cole there and Jarrett right there, Waldock, yep. And then Becky. This is actually Becky's daughter's classroom. That was her daughter in the first photo. But yeah, they talk a little bit about what they're up to and how those plow trucks work. And then if you go to the next one, they actually get to, you know, see them up close in person. And that takes away some of that mystery and eliminates, you know, or hopefully eliminates some of those safety concerns, you know, where a kid wants to get up close when they're actually plowing, and that could be a big safety issue, or maybe standing on a snowbank when that wing comes by, you know. So it takes away some of the curiosity, hopefully, and then, you know, they could interact a little bit with our staff, and it's just a really nice function that we've been doing. And, you know, I think it pays a lot of dividends inside of our community. So yeah, pretty neat there. So we'll talk a little bit about our winter. You know, 24-25 was another lighter winter, which was great. So typically we average about 28 plowing events. You know, this year we sent the full crew out 22 times, a couple partial sends in there. This was our first year creating brine with that new brine system we installed with the shop expansion after the fire. You know, so we learned a little bit about that and are starting to figure that out. We're gonna give her another go on just regular brine this year, and then we'll probably start adding some additives and experimenting with that. So the brine helps our salt stick to the roads, essentially what we're doing at this point. So we're wetting our rock salt, and then that helps that stick to the center line instead of hitting and rolling off into the ditch. So a nice product, and as we continue to evolve with that, you know, hopefully look for some other gains that we can make with our ice and snow control. A little bit about our stuff, you know, Morrison County, 728 miles of road, big county. Those are just center line miles, so you think about it, you have to do it both ways. So, you know, we're close to 1,500 miles of road that we're actually plowing, you know, so it takes our guys a long time. If you go to the next one there, Matt. You can see our different plow routes. We set up 20 full-time, or 20 plow routes, and sometimes we include some intermittents. The green dots are our shops, so we have a shop up in Randall, a shop in Little Falls, and a shop in Pierce. Go to our next page, Matt. So you look at that, we have 11 that are dispatched out of Little Falls, 6 out of Pierce, 3 out of Randall. You know, the average route, approximately 45 miles one way, right? So when you think about it, they're doing 90 miles of road. And it takes 68 hours to complete one lap around there, right? So if that snow continues, sometimes we have to do a second day or some additional cleanup. But yeah, with 2025 being a light winter, you know, hopefully 2025, 26 is light again, but, you know, we'll see what happens. But regardless, our staff's getting ready. We're starting to harness our plows up for the 25, 26 season and getting ready for winter. Recently hired a couple of new intermittents for our intermittent roster. And so they've been in and we'll be doing some snow plow training. What that staff does is they help on some of these plow routes when some of our maintenance staff is on vacation. And then a lot of times we supplement a couple routes just with intermittent drivers just to help facilitate that snow and ice control through the season. Go to our next one. So if you have any questions on weather events, obviously MnDOT has a fantastic system. Just check out 511. They highlight the different roads. They have some pretty neat cameras and then some information on their trucks. You know, you can kind of compare it a lot to if MnDOT's road's bad, you can probably figure one of ours is bad, under most scenarios. We got them a couple times last year, which is always kind of fun. Then you go to our last one there. There's our full staff photo. We're shy 2 people in it, but that was taken last week. So it's kind of fun to see the annual photo. We're trying to do it every year. And every year we've had a change. You know, we don't see the turnover as much as, you know, like Health and Human Services or some of the other departments, but we, you know, typically have a retiree every year. And so it's always a new picture with some new faces in there, and it's kind of fun to see. That's kind of my wrap on your 25 construction and your 24, 25 snow and ice. Any questions?
Comments, Commissioner Casper?
What's the name of that grass behind that photo?
I don't know. You'll have to ask Mr. Schlanka.
We call it pampas grass.
Pampas grass?
That's what we call it.
So yeah, John Schlanko was in charge of the photo this year, and he decided that he wanted it out by the grass. That's out kind of towards the river behind our shop. And then he coordinated with John Winsenberg and Bruce Rexted. So John provided the hay bales everybody's sitting on, and then Bruce Rexted provided the pumpkins to give it a little fall feel this year, instead of just a picture and piece of one of our equipment. And then Beth and Kaylee came out and helped, and they actually took the photo. So
That's great.
team effort this year, so it worked out pretty good.
That's an awesome shot and we don't get to see all the guys over there that often, and so this is.
Yeah, we're just shy 2 employees this year, so pretty good turnout.
Yeah, very good. Other questions, comments for Tony?
Great job.
Yeah, awesome. Always good to have you here, Tony.
I appreciate it, yeah.
Good work.
We're very fortunate. We have a great staff that, you know, provides for our community between the engineering and maintenance, you know, that it really helps us achieve what we get done in here. And we're blessed to have them. So.
Yeah, we feel we have a good leader who leads us over there. So thank you
Appreciate
for
it.
that, Tony.
Absolutely. If there's anything else, that's all I have for you.
Thank you.
Thank you much.
Enjoy your day.
Gentlemen, I look to our administrator, Mr. LeBlanc.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't have anything to present to the board today. Pending any questions or matters you'd like me to look into?
Anything, gentlemen? Mr. LeBlanc, did I hear you say we would update the calendars only by things that may have come up, or is there dates that we should be looking at?
Yeah, that's correct, Mr. Chair. Last week, the board was willing to give their committee reports out of sequence. We did it during the planning session. I did offer it up here on the agenda today as item 11 by exception. So if there are any changes or additions that you'd like to cover today, otherwise we'll publish the dates as provided last week.
Gentlemen, anything to add to that may have been missed a week ago?
I will say, just for reference, it would be from October 27th through November 2nd, and then, of course, the 3rd through the 9th. So if you had any additions, cancellations, I'll gladly take those.
No one has anything to add? I will add one thing today, not necessarily to the published schedule, but one note of interest, that open enrollment is open and goes to November,
October 15th through November 2nd.
November 2nd. So, gentlemen, you may want to make note of that.
More important that somebody needs $30.
I mean.
That's right. We will need to take care of that, too. And thank you for that reminder, Commissioner Wincher. Is there any other business to come before the board this morning?
Mr. Chair, just a point of clarification, and that open enrollment is for the staff, just as if somebody listens in, I mean, it would be their provider dependent, but for
Yep.
us, that is when Morrison County staff's open enrollment is occurring.
Yep. Anything else, gentlemen? Anything else? If not, we are adjourned at 10:37.